After a disastrous chess game, I again mistook my sworn enemy, Willow, for my wife from Peace City, even bringing her to live with me. On that fateful day, clinging to her sleeve, I demanded a kiss. Memories flooded back, petrifying me. Just as I was about to flee, Willow, ever the cold one, unexpectedly leaned down and kissed me on my lips. Her voice was laced with a hint of helplessness. "All right, will you behave yourself at home now?" Before regaining my memory, I truly believed Willow was the best wife in the world. My love for her was a maddening obsession. A single second without her sight felt like being scorched by fire. At breakfast, I clutched Willow's dress tightly, refusing to release it, my gaze fixated on her. "You're not going to leave me again, are you?" Kai released the woman I was gripping, her face an icy mask. She yanked her hand back sharply, a dangerous sound echoing. Yet, I stubbornly held on to her arm, my voice filled with resentment. "You didn't say that before. You promised to love me forever. Without you, I'd die." These dialogues played out like clockwork every morning. Roughly every 2 or 3 days, I'd throw a tantrum, and only Willow possessed the power to soothe me. Willow would close her eyes, giving up, struggling to pull her arm away. "I have a meeting. I'll be back tonight." "Tonight is what time?" "I'm scared to sleep alone." Seeing her silence, I lowered my head, whimpering quietly. A hint of pain flashed across Willow's face, suppressing her anger. She asked softly, "Speak. What else do you want?" I tilted my face, pointing to my cheek. "You haven't kissed me yet." Reflected in the mirror was my tall figure, Willow sitting beside me, her voice gentle, truly, a match made in heaven. The exclamation was cut short as my thoughts abruptly stopped. That beautiful face gradually overlapped with the face in my memories. Memories flooded back. My infatuated gaze instantly morphed into terror. Wait, what am I doing? I, Kai, CEO of a corporation, locked in a deadly business battle with Willow. Yet now my mind is so messed up that I'm calling Willow my wife. My whole body stiffened, about to open my mouth to sneer when Willow, the ever-cold one, unexpectedly leaned down and kissed me on the cheek. The cold kiss was like an electric current jolting through my body. Willow's voice was helpless. "All right, will you behave yourself at home now?" Willow left, and I stood there, stunned for 20 minutes, still not recovered. She just kissed me and talked about my relationship with Willow? Indeed, we meet only to stab each other, sparing no harsh words. Willow will laugh at me for life, for sure. I rummaged through the room, finally finding my work phone in a secret compartment. The secretary answered, almost crying. "CEO Kai, where have you been for half a month? Willow is about to take over everything." I gritted my teeth. No wonder she's been so gentle to me these past 2 weeks. So, she's both laughing at me and aggressively seizing my business. "The Beijing contract, is it signed today?" The secretary was anxious, like ants on a hot pan. "Yes, you disappeared for half a month. It's scheduled with Willow in Beijing." I jumped up, getting dressed quickly. "Willow, I will stop you." I said to Sam, my assistant, "If you can't secure that contract, I'll fire you." That day, I took a flight after Willow to Beijing. This project has always been handled by Vice President Sam. A fresh face like me is perfect to showcase my abilities. I arrived in the banquet hall, bright with lights and flowers. Standing in front of a large mirror, I admired the black suit on me. This suit, I used Willow's card to buy during my amnesia, plus the limited edition watch, cost nearly 10 million. Even the plane ticket this time was swiped with her card. Willow definitely knows I'm here. I stood at the entrance, searching in the crowd, but didn't see Willow. Just as I was about to leave, my back suddenly bumped into a soft body. The scent of gardenias instantly enveloped me. Willow's familiar voice, laced with sarcasm and coldness, rang in my ear. "Mr. Kai, stop pretending." I froze for a second, then turned around and threw myself into her arms. "Wife, I missed you so much." My overly enthusiastic action attracted quite a bit of attention. "Who is this?" "It seems like CEO Willow's husband." Willow grabbed my collar, dragging me into the preparation room. The cold table slammed into my back, the clatter of dishes ringing out. Willow's eyes were gloomy. "Kai, what do you want?" She only called me by my full name when I was down and out. It seems like I've tricked her again. I playfully fiddled with the hem of her dress, my eyes hesitant. "Nothing, just missed you." To be honest, I couldn't smile anymore, the corners of my mouth drooping. "I heard you have a lover in Beijing. I came to see." Willow frowned, not a trace of warmth in her eyes. "There's no one. You made it up yourself to deceive people." I nudged her with my foot. Just now I saw you talking to a man. You don't love me anymore. Willow furrowed her brow. Don't be jealous for no reason. That's a partner. I know it's a partner. It's Yao from Minhua Group in Beijing. I turned my face away, my expression disbelieving. Unless you take me with you tonight. Willow was annoyed to the point of helplessness. Fine. All right. That night, I linked arms with Willow like a child, happily chatting idly with the representatives of Minhua Group. Willow tried to talk business several times, but I interrupted her. In the end, she sat silently in a corner, her gloomy eyes staring at me intently, not knowing what she was thinking. As soon as the party ended, I trailed behind Willow back to her room. The door closed with a click, leaving only darkness. Willow's soft fingertip pressed against my lips, gently. Kai, how come I never noticed you were so shameless? Her voice was very low, even more seductive under the cover of darkness. I drank a few glasses of wine, slightly tipsy. Leaning into her arms, I sighed. I just don't want you talking to other men. I silently cursed myself. Damn it. How could I behave like this after amnesia? Willow chuckled. You don't even have a title yet, and you're already so possessive. As she placed me on the bed, the phone suddenly rang, the flashing light in the dark a bit dazzling. She answered the phone, Willow's secretary's voice echoing from the receiver. CEO Willow, the Beijing contract was snatched away by Mr. Kai's people. Who? She asked back. Sam, his subordinate, Vice President Sam. The room was as silent as a tomb, the ticking of the clock harmonizing with the rapid beat of my heart, pounding against every nerve. I pretended nothing was wrong, using my foot to hook at the hem of her dress, waiting for Willow's reaction. The dress rustled as it was rubbed. She hung up, her voice slightly cold. Kai, you knew I had to sign the contract today? I rested my head on her arm, inhaling the scent on her body. She was silent, not speaking. She grabbed my chin, lifting it up, looking at me intently for a moment, then suddenly mocked. You've recovered your memory, haven't you? I was startled. If I admitted it, tonight I'd be dead. I pretended to be dazed and confused. Wife, it's hot. She saw my wine-flushed face, her deep eyes staring intently at my face, unblinking. Willow's gaze and tone suddenly softened. Kai, do you think I'm that easily fooled? Do I like you? How could you deceive me? How did I deceive you? I chuckled, leaning down to bite her lips. The kiss was both gentle and filled with suppressed anger, biting until I frowned in pain. Willow finally released me. She tossed aside my messy hair, laughing coldly. What lies haven't you told yet? No, wife. Hearing my even breathing and sincere gaze, I love you. Along with the sound of tearing, the collar of my shirt was ripped open. Willow's eyes were completely stained with cruelty. You really are. She forcefully pressed me against the corner of the wall, her 5 fingers digging into my waist like an industrial vacuum cleaner, frantically seizing. I come from a well-educated family. I hope when you recover your memory, you can still say the same. Otherwise, I don't mind killing you myself. Before, I judged Willow to be a shameless stray dog. She was different. I was not from a prestigious family, but climbed up step by step myself. People say those who come from behind will fight for everything. Willow was exactly the kind of person who wouldn't back down, making people resent her. I remembered that year, furious about losing a project, I angrily teased her. Willow calmly replied, Mr. Kai, you're too poor to even afford to keep me. But tonight, Willow's out-of-control appearance secretly pleased me. What's that saying? I gain without losing anything. If Willow always likes to play games, waiting for the day to tear off the mask, I don't know if she will laugh at me more, or I will laugh at her more. My train of thought was suddenly interrupted by a force pushing from behind, dissolving. Willow's lazy voice rang out from behind. While I was absent-minded, warm breath brushed against my ear. I instinctively bit my lip, mocking, haven't eaten yet. Willow paused, then a soft chuckle gradually spread like ripples in the night. Just one word, good, without saying anything more. The rest was just redoubled cruelty. The next morning, I woke up in a daze, my whole body aching. I gritted my teeth, struggling to sit up and grabbed the phone from under the bed. A message from Sam popped up on WeChat. CEO Kai, everything is almost ready. Sue has sent us some things. Sue, beside Willow, had built her career with her from scratch. The two were like sisters, but half a year ago, she often clashed with Willow, suspected to be due to uneven distribution of profits. I had secretly influenced Sue. Unexpectedly, today there were results. I replied, "What things?" "Evidence of Willow stealing trade secrets. This time, it will definitely put her in jail." I immediately thought this was a trap Willow set herself, aimed at me. After thinking for a while, I said, "Send it to my email. I'll review it myself." Sam was anxious. "CEO Kai, don't hesitate anymore. Just do as I say." Just as I hung up, the room door was pushed open. Willow stood at the door, staring intently at my phone screen, slowly asking, "Who were you calling?" I flusteredly put away the phone. "No one." Willow narrowed her eyes, walking towards me. I kicked her knee, blurting out, "Ouch, pain." "Pain? What else?" Willow hadn't reacted yet. "You said pain. What else? You ask others if you don't understand. Is that okay?" Recalling the intense night before, I was still a little scared. Willow's voice deepened. "This kind of thing? You can ask others?" She grabbed my hand, pulling me out of bed. "I'll take you to the doctor." I didn't know if it was my imagination, but Willow's temper seemed much better than when I was amnesiac. Early spring in Beijing was still chilly. Leaving the hospital, I accidentally tripped on a step. Annoyance filled me. If not for acting with her, I wouldn't have gone to the hospital and gotten injured in my leg. "Wait for me." I stood on the step, arrogantly said. "What did you say?" Willow looked at me, her eyes still as cold as usual, now furrowing her brows, looking annoyed. I hugged my aching leg, repeating word by word. I said, "Help me up." I thought Willow would mock me again. Unexpectedly, she walked over and waved her hand. "Come here." Has she really changed? I was half believing, half doubting. Leaning on her shoulder, I stared at the stray hairs behind her ear, absent-mindedly thinking. Willow's arm steadily supported me, walking through the crowds at the hospital, her black hair fluttering in the wind. She really was like a stray dog. "Where do you want to go?" Willow suddenly asked, interrupting my thoughts. I didn't know how to answer. "Aren't you going to discuss business?" She replied coldly, "Not successful." I sighed, feigning anger. "Which bastard dared to steal from you?" "Ouch, my thigh hurts." "Speak too much and you might bite your tongue." Willow chuckled lightly, loosening her grip. Truly, shameless to the extreme. I didn't make trouble anymore, silently lying on Willow's back, carefully considering Sam's words. Willow had been in the business world for many years without any weaknesses. I didn't believe it, but to say she committed crimes, stole trade secrets, it was also not very believable. Maybe, not only would I not harm Willow, but I'd also jump into her trap myself. Gradually, night fell. Beijing was entering the holiday season, crowded with people. The bright and bustling night lights pulled me out of my wandering thoughts. Street food stalls were packed closely, all kinds of snacks bringing a touch of life to this ancient street. I climbed down from Willow's back, curiously looking around. This was the first time I strolled through an ancient street like this. The bright pink skewers were thrown into the oil pan, sizzling and fragrant. The stall owner was very enthusiastic, inviting. "3 skewers. Want to try?" Willow answered for me. "No need." Seeing my slightly unhappy expression, she said, "Not clean." I resisted, rolling my eyes. Coming from a bad background, yet still acting picky. Reaching a noodle shop, I couldn't walk anymore, so I sat down on a chair in the shop's courtyard. Willow frowned. Before she could pull me up, the waiter brought bowls and chopsticks, telling us to scan the code to order. Afraid Willow would find it troublesome, I quickly took out my phone to scan the code, and she reluctantly sat down, ordering another pot of hot water, carefully rinsing the bowls and chopsticks for me. I suspiciously looked at her. "Why don't you rinse yours yourself?" Willow didn't look up. "I'm not fussy about these things." It was my turn to be stunned. She said "not clean" was for me. I recalled my spending spree of 10 million in half a month. Willow really had reason to think I was a good-for-nothing, picky, and demanding. The waiter brought up 2 bowls of noodles. I ate half a bowl and gave up, yet still slower than Willow. The waiter stood beside us, chatting with others. "Why is it so crowded today?" I heard just now the railing on Ming Bridge collapsed. Several people fell down. Willow glanced at her watch. "Finished eating? Let's go." "It's too crowded today, not safe." Just as I was about to stand up, I was suddenly pushed by someone, almost falling face down. Willow quickly reacted, catching me, her expression serious, looking at the street. "Don't go further. Something bad seems to be happening." Before I could react, the crowd that was moving slowly suddenly became like a river blocked. In just half a minute, the density of the crowd increased rapidly, squeezing people into the roadside shops. Distant sirens were heard, along with shouts. Nameless fear began to spread. The number of people had exceeded the capacity of the commercial street. A stampede broke out in the middle of the road. Shop owners immediately closed their glass doors, blocking the crowds squeezing outside. In a few seconds, Willow pushed me into a narrow gap between two buildings. Leaning against the wall, "Don't move." Willow stood against the wall, blocking in front of me. Soon, the violent pushes came upon us. I heard the sound of people falling to the ground, the gasping for breath when being trampled on the chest, and even the sound of vomiting. Willow's face was pale white, but she still didn't move, bowed her head silently, trying to fight for a small space for me amidst the crowded stream of people. I wanted to reach out to hold her, but she stopped me. "Anyone who wants a broken arm, try it." I realized she had reached her limit. Even speaking was difficult. At that moment, I tightly grasped her dress. "Willow, are you going to die?" Her breath was rapid, cursing lowly. "Soon enough. What do you want to do, widow?" The terrifying stampede lasted for a long time. Not knowing how long after, the crowd finally dispersed, leaving people lying scattered on the street, cries of pain echoing everywhere. Willow suddenly slumped against the wall, collapsing into my arms. I hugged her. Ambulance lights flashed before my eyes. I anxiously called, "Doctor! Doctor! Doctor here!" Willow's breath was very weak, her fingertips ice cold. On her palm, there was a deep wound, seemingly cut by some metal ornament, blood-stained and messy. Due to friction with the rough wall, I didn't dare to touch her hand. On the way to the hospital, I stared intently at the numbers on the vital signs monitor, my whole body cold. The doctor said Willow might die. She was pushed into the emergency room. The doctor stopped me. "What are you to her?" "Lover. This is the critical condition notice. Sign it." I signed my name below, watching the emergency room door close. A sense of vast loneliness overwhelmed me. I chuckled. What the hell is this? Willow risked her life for me again? That year when my house caught fire, even my parents didn't save me, yet it was Willow, the foolish, easily deceived stray dog. A child hiding behind her mother pointed at me, saying, "Mommy, that uncle is scary." The woman covered her child's mouth. "Don't provoke the mentally ill. Let's go quickly." Night fell. I waited until my whole body was stiff before seeing the doctor come out. "Your wife is temporarily stable, needs to be monitored further. Once past the danger period, she can be transferred to a regular ward." Thanking the doctor, I began a long and arduous period of waiting. In fact, I didn't know who to contact. I knew nothing about Willow's family, nor did I know if she had any relatives. That accident was like a rope, tightly binding me and her together. A few days later, Willow was transferred to a regular ward. Sam called me, "CEO Kai, Sue's information is absolutely reliable. Please trust me this once." I looked at Willow, who was lying with her eyes closed on the hospital bed, said, "Wait until I get back. Then talk. Without my permission, don't act rashly." Sam seemed unhappy, but didn't say anything. That afternoon, Willow woke up in the quiet ward, warm sunlight shining on the hanging flower basket beside the bed. Due to exhaustion, I had fallen asleep on the bedside. Willow stirred, her arm accidentally waking me. She looked at the work phone I had tossed aside, her eyes calm, not saying anything. She knew I had regained my memory. The next second, I lunged forward, hugging her neck, wailing, "Willow, Willow." At this point, Willow finally relaxed her brow. "Where do you want to touch? If you don't get trampled to death by people, you'll be crushed to death by me." I just knew how to sob, not saying anything. Finally, Willow gently patted my back, helping me call the doctor. I need to understand my condition. Willow, as expected of a stray dog, after waking up, her condition improved day by day. We both tacitly avoided mentioning that I had recovered my memory. The return date was set for the last day of the holiday. On the plane, Willow brought a pile of luggage, mostly things I deliberately bought with her money during my amnesia. Sitting on the plane, watching Beijing gradually shrink, slowly sinking into a sea of clouds, I felt like I had just experienced a dream. Returning to my battlefield with Willow was the real return to reality. I was never Willow's husband, but an opponent who wanted her dead. Thinking so intently, Willow's voice rang out beside me, pulling me back to reality. On her lap was a wooden airplane model that I had bought before, intending to ask Willow to assemble it for me to play. I took the model, hugging it. "Yes." Willow looked at me, not saying anything, folding the blueprint, waiting for the plane to land. The airport after the holiday was crowded. We pushed the luggage cart, wandering around the airport for a while before reaching the exit. I saw Sam, understanding that any play must come to an end. Looking up at Willow, I was about to open my mouth when she unexpectedly hugged me. Do you still remember what I told you that night? That threatening, fierce sentence? My heart thumped like being pulled back by something, both bitter and uneasy. Willow said, "Wait until you figure out what you want to say to me, then come find me." Finishing speaking, she released me. I walked towards Sam. Sam smiled at me. "CEO Kai, not disappointing your expectations, I've brought the police." Hearing the word police, my blood seemed to freeze. Behind Sam, several police officers stepped forward, skillfully showing their badges to Willow. "MS. Willow, we received a report accusing you of economic crimes. Please come with us to the station for investigation." The chaos immediately attracted the surrounding crowd. I turned my head back, only seeing a gentle, yet lonely smile on Willow's lips. With a click, the handcuffs locked on her wrists. Her wound hadn't fully healed. I stepped forward, but was pushed back by the crowd, pushed back to the original place, further and further away from her. "So, that's how it was." Willow looked at me, her voice very soft. "I understand." I opened my mouth. "No." Willow lowered her head, laughing faintly. "Mr. Kai, you staged a good show, wanting to kill me to silence me?" "Sam, you're daydreaming." "CEO Willow, she is upright and honest. No one can blame her." Willow raised her head. In her eyes, it was the familiar cold look again, upright and honest. "Kai, when you pretended to be amnesiac and played with my feelings, why didn't you think if you were upright and honest?" In my heart, a dull pain surged. Looking into my reddened eyes, Willow sneered at me. "Am I wrong? The one who reported to the police is not me. 3 months ago, the one who found my sister to ask for evidence is also not you." I had nothing more to say. I really had intended to do that. The one who found her sister to ask for evidence was indeed me. The police pushed her. "Stop talking nonsense. Get in the car." Willow frowned because of the wound on her body. Before getting into the car, she paused, turned her head to look at me, saying a sentence inaudibly. I read her lips. "Kai, wait for me to come back. I will kill you myself." Willow was only investigated for 3 days before being released. Her sister, Sue, unexpectedly turned around, confessing that Sam had fabricated evidence. Sam's face turned pale, begging me, "CEO Kai, I really didn't know Sue would betray me. I had warned Sam to be careful. It was just that his ambition was too great, blinded by desire and reason. I only disappeared for half a month, and he was already like a wild horse off the reins, reckless and unrestrained." I sat by the window, looking at the tall buildings outside, not saying a word. Now, Willow had counterattacked, using Sam's false accusation to push him into a dangerous situation. The authorities had intervened to investigate, while Willow began her revenge. She continuously struck, causing the company to falter, on the verge of collapse in an instant. In my office, people came and went busily, lights on all night. A few days later, a subordinate with a pale face said to me, "CEO Kai, Willow is attacking us. We can't withstand it. She said if you want to save the company, you must personally come and beg her." Due to overwork for many days, I caught a bad cold. When I arrived at Willow's office, people said she was in a meeting. I had to wait. There were no seats around. I could only stand and wait outside the door. A few days ago, the weather turned cold. The corridor opened windows, cold as an ice cellar. I was extremely uncomfortable, could only barely lean against the glass wall of her office to rest. Not knowing how long after, the door suddenly opened from inside. Willow's cold face appeared in sight. Even her voice was without a trace of warmth. "CEO Kai, is that all you've got?" I couldn't withstand it anymore, gently collapsing onto her shoulder. Willow's hand stiffened, coldly pushing me away. "Stay away from me. I'm uncomfortable. Let me lean for a moment." I interrupted her, my nasal voice heavy. The room fell into a strange silence. I had a high fever, plus the cold wind, my whole body shivering. Willow helped me into her restroom. When the doctor measured my temperature, Willow and Sue stood outside. "Willow, are you crazy? The corridor is so cold." He was still shivering just now. Willow pushed the door open, stepping in. "Doctor, Willow closed the door again, her voice a bit annoyed. "Okay, stop talking." "CEO Willow, the biggest taboo in doing this is falling in love." My fever was so high that my throat was burning. Even my voice was hoarse. The doctor prescribed medicine. After taking the medicine, I lay sideways on the bed, falling asleep. In my dream, I saw the fire of that year again. I stood by the window, watching my parents getting further and further away, crying until my voice was hoarse. Afterwards, they said, "Don't blame mom and dad. Such a large estate must have someone to shoulder it." For them, a child like me was useless, not worth sacrificing their lives for me. Many years after their passing, I had formed a pragmatic personality, everything calculated gains and losses, never doing loss-making business. I woke up, the room dimly lit, the clock on the wall ticking. I was sweating, feeling a bit parched. Getting out of bed, outside was Willow's office. She stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, the faint neon light illuminating one side of her face, her expression gloomy. Willow tilted her head to look at me, like a predator staring at its prey. "I suggest you stay in the room and rest for 2 days." I folded my arms, lazily retorting, "Restricting personal freedom is illegal." Willow's eyes were dark and deep, like a dry well. I thought she would say, "Wherever you want to go, go, just don't die here." But unexpectedly, Willow said, "That's right, I just want to lock you up. If you die, you must die here." She didn't really lock me up, just that the doctor came every day to give infusions and monitor my condition. I didn't like noise, so I settled down here. I even openly eavesdropped when Willow had meetings. People initially objected, gradually turning a blind eye. Even Sue started calling me elder brother, every time being kicked out by Willow. With me as an inside spy, the company's situation on the other side also eased a lot. Finally, I could breathe a sigh of relief. These past few days, I hadn't been idle. Sam had gone to jail. I promoted a new vice president. Sam's previous petty tricks were all abolished. The company, like weeds after rain, was full of vitality. After recovering from the cold, the first thing I did was to direct people to give Willow a painful blow, considered an explanation to the entire company. One quiet afternoon, the restroom door was pushed open. I was lying on a recliner by the window. Before I could open my eyes, I was thrown heavily onto the soft bed. Willow's cold voice rang out, "Kai, under other people's roof, you still dare to play tricks. Aren't you afraid I'll break your arrogant neck?" I looked at her gloomy face, grinning. "Willow, killing is illegal." After speaking, I was not afraid of death, even using my bare feet to rub against her legs. "Oh." Willow's voice deepened, suddenly flipping me over. "Not killing you. I also have many other ways to make you wish you were dead." At this moment, I realized the fire I had just kindled was burning more and more fiercely. She unexpectedly pulled me beneath her, the familiar clean scent even stronger under the influence of body temperature, intertwining with the faint fragrance on my body. I felt like I was about to explode. I was a little panicked, pushing her away, but she tightly grabbed my hand. "Apologize to me," Willow said, my self-esteem provoked. I raised my head, sneering. "Where am I wrong? I tricked you. You voluntarily believed. It's your fault. You serve me. I even benefit." Willow's smile disappeared without a trace. She grabbed my collar, fiercely saying, "Serve you? Serve you into what shape? You also have to endure it for me." This was probably the first time we fought outside of the business world, both trying to suppress anger, not letting the other side feel comfortable. Willow's forehead was sweating, gritting her teeth. "Let go. Do you want to see me die?" My cold hadn't fully recovered. I actually had no strength left, but still angry. I punched her hard. "Stray dog. Gentler? Okay. What kind of service is this?" A curse in exchange for doubled revenge from the other side. Willow bit my ear hard, brushing away the messy hair on my temple, softly asking, "Now then, Kai, how do you feel now?" I angrily bit her lip. In the end, I really had no strength left. Willow raised her head, truly like a dog. "Apologize." I tightly gripped her hair, sobbing. "Beg me. Beg for forgiveness." Willow whimpered, "Begging you, apologize." Apologize or not. Before fainting, I heard a helpless sigh. Willow still let me go. From that day on, we didn't see each other again, even tacitly avoiding each other in business meetings. For a while, the two companies that had been fighting for many years achieved a strange peace. The new vice president was a young girl who liked to gossip. Today, she ran over to tell me, "Kai, I heard Willow has a boyfriend." I touched the wooden airplane model on the table, asking, "Where did you hear that?" She took out her phone. "Look, taking a boy shopping. If it's not a boyfriend, what is it?" I looked at the photo, Willow carrying bags, trailing behind a boy, suddenly chuckled. "Very good." The young girl shrank her neck, probably feeling cold in the room. quickly scurrying away. My parents called continuously. Last time, my parents talked about marriage. Have you thought it over carefully? If you don't want to, Mom and Dad's shares will be left to your cousin. From now on, this house, you can come back if you want, or not if you don't want. The Kai family was like this. My position in their hearts was not even as good as a cousin. In fact, I had intended to agree, just that there was a slight change in the middle. I thought for a moment, set a specific time, I'll go home. Unexpectedly, the marriage matter was hyped up by both sets of parents, becoming a huge affair. The marriage partner was my age. The boyfriends changed were no fewer than 100 people. Just the breakup fees paid to those men each year were enough to buy a car. For us to meet, both sets of parents even specially organized a grand evening party. Night fell. I wore a black suit, wandering aimlessly in the crowd. That playboy didn't know where he had run off to, leaving me alone to entertain guests. 7:30 p.m., a black Rolls-Royce drove in from the night. When Willow got out of the car, in her hand, she was carrying a bottle of red wine. Her attire today was different from usual, more luxurious and eye-catching. I narrowed my eyes, looking at the bracelet on her wrist, thinking, since when did Willow like to wear these gaudy jewelry? Under everyone's surprised gaze, she unhesitatingly walked towards me like a stray dog that had locked onto its target. This feeling of being stared at made me feel strangely at ease. Mr. Kai, still haven't found your ideal match? Willow came before me, handing me the red wine. I smiled casually, thank you, because usually Willow and I fought to the death. At this time, many people secretly observed us. Willow didn't say anything more, naturally sitting down in a nearby seat. I accepted Willow's gift, turning to entertain other guests. Less than half an hour before the party started. The black suit had worn thin. Thinking about it, the things that Playboy gave were not good. I went upstairs to the second floor, pushing open the bedroom door, intending to change clothes. Unexpectedly, before I could turn on the light, someone blocked the door, Willow's seductive figure appearing before me. I gripped the doorknob. What do you want to do? Willow grabbed my collar, pulling me out of the door. Along with the sound of the door closing, she pulled me into the pitch-black room. The breaths of two people intertwined. Willow grabbed my collar, slowly groping. I gently kicked her, still not letting go. Aren't you afraid your boyfriend will see? Willow was silent for a moment. Which boyfriend? Just went shopping with people. Already forgotten. Silly. Her voice was a bit sour. Willow's gloomy eyes lingered on my face for a moment, then suddenly grabbed my head, kissing down forcefully. She was crazy. I angrily raised my hand, intending to hit back, but she held my hand tightly. Don't move. Willow said softly, are you angry? Am I not allowed to coax you? I was about to scold Willow, said it's not a boyfriend. It's my younger brother. What does it have to do with me? I stood panting on the moral high ground, beginning to preach principles. I'm getting engaged soon. Do I need your coaxing? What qualifications do you have to coax me? I like you. These for sudden words made my heart seem to stop beating. In the darkness, Willow's eyes were dazzling, burning my heart like boiling water. I blushed. Then just now you wish me to find my ideal match soon. Willow chuckled. In her eyes, a resolute light flashed. I am your ideal match. That blind playboy, let him die wherever he wants. Stray dog. Hearing me scold, Willow chuckled again. It seemed like she liked being scolded by me, just like I was scolding a barking dog. Shameless. Half an hour later, Willow and I left the room, our legs trembling. Willow leaned down, whispering in my ear, chuckling softly, Miss, this marriage, I've secured it. On my body, a faint scent of her lingered. I was a little flustered, scratching my hair. If you can't solve it, then just wait to die. Willow laughed out loud. There is nothing I can't solve, especially your matter. I knew Willow was ruthless. Her methods were also ruthless. Tonight, I originally intended to ask her to help me escape this marriage. If not, then consider it having an extra nuisance in the house. I had many ways to deal with him. The party was about to begin. I went on stage with my parents. The girl's parents still hadn't shown up. Her parents looked at me with indifferent expressions, nodding slightly, seemingly not taking me seriously. My father cleared his throat. Today, we invited everyone here because there is an important matter to announce. My son Kai is of marriageable age and has found a kindred spirit with Miss from the Zhu family. Just as he said this, Willow, standing under the stage, suddenly spoke up. Kindred spirit? Her voice was not loud, but very clear. I thought she would wait a bit longer before interjecting. Unexpectedly, Willow didn't want to wait. My father paused, frowning. "Ms. Willow, do you have any objections?" Willow was not at all timid, standing under the crystal chandelier, her expression radiant. "I have objections to Mr. Kai's marriage." The resolute words made my father angrily chuckle. "I know Ms. Willow is still at odds with Kai, but today is a big day for our family. Is this Ms. Willow's upbringing?" Willow was not angry, her eyes cold. "If I am uneducated, then where does that playboy who is always teased by men get his education?" The faces of the girls' parents changed, everyone whispering. These upper-class people had always looked down on Willow's humble background, but were also afraid of her current status, so they didn't dare openly offend her. The words were just sarcastic. "Mr. and Mrs. Zhu, surely you haven't taught your daughter that destroying someone else's marriage will be punished by heaven?" Willow raised her eyebrows. "Destroying whose marriage?" "Mr. Kai, marry me, please." As soon as the words fell, the whole hall was in an uproar. "What? Willow and Kai? How is that possible? Could it be she wants revenge?" Willow acted as if she didn't hear, coldly looking at the girl's parents. "Your daughter is marrying him. His parents use shares to threaten, using all means to suppress his career, breaking his wings. At my place, he doesn't need anything, shares or power. Whatever he wants, I'll give." She took out a contract. Under the bright lights, every line of black and white was clear, rights and interests divided clearly, using benefits as evidence. The whole hall was as silent as a tomb. This thick contract, Willow had shown me before. I really wanted to dissect her brain to see if she was in love or not. My parents looked at the terms on the contract, their eyes lighting up. This is even better than marrying the Zhu family. I looked into Willow's dark eyes, something flowing down in my heart, little by little, washing away the wounds, both painful and itchy. The Zhu family parents were speechless, could only watch helplessly as I accepted the contract from Willow, signing my name on it. Everyone seemed to fall out of their chairs, buzzing and asking about the relationship between me and Willow. The night wind was cold, but Willow's palm was warm. Moonlight shone on our shoulders, both of us silent. Willow got into the car, starting the engine. "What's wrong?" "Sleeping in a different bed. Not used to it. Can't sleep well." I threw the house keys to her. Willow didn't say anything, driving me home. I remembered that year when buying this high-end apartment in the city center, I had met Willow at the sales office. At that time, for a small matter, I had argued with her. I even mocked her for not being worthy of stepping into this luxurious place. Now, Willow opened the door, leaning against the wall, her eyes distant, reminiscing about the past.